Roman Reigns, the most popular wrestler in the world, could not be seen on WWE's premium live events through Peacock and the WWE Network for almost 4 months. Could he be off Money in the Bank? What does this mean for WWE television? And what does it mean for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship that he holds? We'll get into that. We'll get your comments on screen. WWE NXT Tag Team Champions could be affected by a recent injury scare. Plus, we're also going to dig into what's going on with The Rock and John Cena and the DC Cinematic Extended Universe. That feels weird to say out loud. We'll get into everything going on with Matt Cardona stirring the pot with a possible WWE return, or really the idea that he's into it. And CM Punk, how is his injury? How long will it keep him out of action? How will it affect the AEW World Championship? And so much more. Plus, we're debating about, are there too many championships in AEW? Let's get into it. It's Sportskeeda Wrestling. Top story of the day. Sure, the league of you stink.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Watch out!
Watch out!
Yes, what's up, everybody? Watch out, watch out, watch out. What's going on? I like seeing people who are with us for the first time, not the last time. If you are with us for the first time, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button? Over 30,000 subscribers on YouTube's, millions on Facebook, and of course, thousands and thousands and thousands. We'll take
30.2 now.
And thousands and thousands of people listening on the podcast around the world. Thank you guys for checking out the podcast as well. We're doing a whole bunch of different stuff there. Also now on Twitch, so go ahead and give us a sub on there. Let's get right into the stories of the day. I'm Kev Kellam, that's Jose G and Jeremy Bennett. A lot to touch upon here, a lot to get into. Roman Reigns, let's talk about it here. News getting out that Roman Reigns could be off the plans for WWE's Money in the Bank event coming up in just a few weeks in Las Vegas, moved from Allegiant Stadium to MGM Grand. And does this mean that Roman Reigns is exclusively a stadium attraction for WWE? We know that his schedule will be reduced. He is a superstar. He did allude to not being on live events, quote unquote, house shows for different things for WWE. He's alluded to that on the microphone himself. And now we're getting looks that he could be moved back to SummerSlam, which will be at Nissan Stadium in Nashville. This is interesting. Could he still be a part of Money in the Bank? Obviously, plans could change, but plans change, pal. But what do you think of this? This is a weird scenario here, and give me all the details on it.
Yeah, well, this is just simply a report from both Justin Barrasso from Sports Illustrated and Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer that he is not going to be scheduled to appear any longer. So that then leaves you with yet many more weeks without a champion on your television, which in my opinion is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's the Brock Lesnar formula, right? You get big enough, and then now you're that big, you're that champion. Now you're treated like such, right? Now you're going to be treated as that attraction that WWE has maybe 4 or 5 times a year. And that attraction, ladies and gentlemen, is Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you need time off, but don't have your title on the guy if he's taking time off. So they were not thinking ahead when they unified the titles at WrestleMania. They were not thinking ahead at all.
Well, you also had the injury to Cody. I wonder how much Cody was supposed to run with the idea of being the big guy and the big superstar. And he got very popular very, very quickly with WWE fans who had been missing him on WWE television. And, that's a curveball. What's going on there? There's other things here. Maybe they just don't think they need him. Maybe they think Money in the Bank itself is an attraction enough and we don't need to have Roman there. But I do agree. What does it mean to unify the titles with a guy who's not going to be on TV?
It's also contradictory. They used to make this rule up where if you didn't defend your title in 30 days, you had to relinquish it.
AEW has rankings that don't mean anything. So there's a lot of rules that are supposed to mean things in wrestling that don't mean anything, like a 10 count and people are supposed to not interfere and interfere. WWE does it, AEW does it. A lot of different people bend and break their own rules. Roman as a special attraction makes sense, but what does that mean for your championships? Does it hold up your championships? It'll be interesting. I mean, this will act, if he's away from television for 4 months, that'll be longer than the period than Brock was when he was champion. So it's kind of interesting to see how this all plays out. More people are saying here, WWE's done 100%. No Roman, says King Hunsel Mundo. Jesse Hyde saying WWE is ready to release more NXT stars for Roman to face The Rock at Hollywood and Cody. You can't equate people being released from NXT with that at all. That there's no line that connects there at all. But Joseph saying I don't watch WWE anymore, and David Sampson saying Roman is pulling back the reins on his appearance.
See what you did there.
See what you did there. Here's the thing: he's a big star. I get maybe the distance makes the heart grow fonder, right?
Mhm.
But I agree with you, Jeremy. What were they thinking with these world titles?
Yeah, and Fightful Select also put out a report later on and said that Roman Reigns will be at 3 months without defending the title on either on television if the report from Sports Illustrated is true. Of course, then he went in to talk about the Sports Illustrated report. We talked about the reduced schedule that we had already reported on. WWE reps told Fightful that his live event schedule would be scaled back, but he would remain on TV and he wouldn't miss any time. Well, that is not true. He has not been on TV at all and is clearly going to be missing 2 pay-per-views in a row now. They followed up for some additional clarity on that situation. Even then, they were also told at one point Reigns missing Money in the Bank would be possible as the company feels the ladder matches themselves could sell the pay-per-view. However, with the event moving from Allegiant Stadium to MGM, it certainly seems like that is the case.
And the show sold out. The show sold out in this new venue. So, I mean, at a pretty penny, too. You know, that's Las Vegas. They're not going to have cheap tickets there. I also see resale prices that being pretty high. So there's still a good demand for this show. It's International Fight Week. If you're a UFC fan, you're going down there. Maybe you want to double dip your chip and go to both of those things. It's Las Vegas. That's an attraction by itself. Maybe it's something where they don't think they need Roman. You know, I'm not saying I like that. It's because I'm going to be watching on TV and I want Roman, right?
Well, the report also said that some of the officials felt that all these ladder matches could sell the pay-per-view on its own because that's what the pay-per-view is about. It's about the Money in the Bank ladder match and whoever wins those briefcases. So I think that that their overall sentiment is like, we don't need Roman to sell out this show. And the proof is in the pudding, you know, because these matches are the show. It's not Roman. These matches, these Money in the Bank matches, are the actual show. So from that standpoint, I totally understand it. But Roman is your guy. Yeah. And you got Riddle calling out Roman week after week. And
he's still like, you're right, dialogue wise, he's still referenced on the show consistently.
And those Money in the Bank matches are less than a third of the card. There's, if it's an 8-match card, that's a quarter of the card only, you know. So
true, they're big long matches though, but it's like the Royal Rumble. You know, Money in the Bank is something. It's not one of those things I think they have to. You can get to the show and it's still really fun. It's very hard. I haven't seen a Money in the Bank like match, even the ones that aren't better than others, that I haven't found entertaining in some way, you know, or they've done something different with. But still, Roman not being on the show is such a blow. I wonder if he makes an appearance on the show, if he's a part of some type of angle or something like that. If it's a surprise, you don't know whether or not he's going to show up. They could do that thing. They've done that before with The Undertaker. Is Roman going to show up at the pay-per-view? Are we actually going to get our champion to show up or something like that? And he becomes that resentful of other people, and that's how much he thinks he's above everything.
Yeah,
there's a lot of different roads you can go down with this to work your way out of it.
Yeah, I was looking back last year. I thought my assumption was correct. Yeah, those matches weren't even 15 minutes last year. They rushed through those.
They really did. Last year they did rush through those matches. But interesting take here by Rudy Lopez commenting on Facebook saying, well, look at when Hogan was champion. He was barely on TV. Ever think about that?
That's because there was barely any TV back then.
Yeah. And Jeremy, I was going to back you up. They didn't have the same level of television. You know,
they had superstars.
There was no social media either.
They had superstars, and then they had
main event every once in a while.
They had a Saturday night's main event, which quarterly television specials on network television, and then I think Wrestling Classic and stuff like that. So when he would wrestle on those codes, it was really just to sell tickets.
It was all
like WWE is still very much a live event business driven at that time, and pay-per-view was like television rights. Then pay-per-view was kind of the way the business worked in terms of money. Now that it's flipped the other way, it's television rights, and WWE is the biggest thing in WWE, even though you could say Roman Reigns and the collection of stars are a big deal. But it's a circus. It's not just one thing that is the attraction. It's the whole presentation. Here's one from Santo. Sees with us all the time. Thank you so much, Santo. Appreciate your support. The Money in the Bank briefcase is more important than ever. A cash-in right away is needed to get an active star within the title. I don't want to have someone win and then say, I will face you at the next PLE. You're with the language. I like that. You're with the vernacular already. Get the case when he's down and out, cash in and win. I do think this is one of those years where the Money in the Bank briefcase becomes, it's always been dangerous, right? It's always been a very strong creative device that WWE has added to their calendar and can elevate a superstar and do some different things with it. Another thing is you can put that on some guy and justifiably, because of the circumstances, make that guy the next champion, and do it in a way that makes sense. And Roman can get pinned, but he doesn't feel like, oh, he lost or he got squashed or something.
He got robbed, Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. And this year, I do think we're going to get a very consequential Money in the Bank cash in. Let's go over to WWE NXT. They had a strong week, strong ratings bump after In Your House. But also they did a set of TV tapings as they tried to kind of cut the corners a little bit and get this NXT crew to go back on the road in Florida. So they're going to do group TV tapings. Issue, though, with Gigi Dolan. She's one half of the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, and she suffered an injury. We don't know how serious this injury was. She did appear later on in the tapings, but give me more details on this.
The final match of the tapings, this says it was likely to air on the 14th, but they did tapings for 2 weeks. So I don't know if this is going to air Tuesday or the week after, but 6-woman tag match between Toxic Attraction, Cora Jade, Indy Hartwell, and Roxanne Perez. Gigi Dolan suffered an injury scare. Apparently, Cora Jade hit Dolan with a cannonball senton before a rushed pinfall to end the match. Dolan received an ovation from the crowd and was helped to the back later that night. Dolan was with Rose and JC for a promo. So this looks like this was to close this Tuesday's NXT taping. And then she was on camera for the June 21st edition of NXT 2.0. No physical involvement, but was in there for a promo. So doesn't like she was, and they said it didn't appear that she was in any pain or distress. Might have just got the wind knocked out of her.
Oh my God, there's an alarm going off about all this different news.
Breaking
Only
news.
Here on the top story. Only here on the top story.
Is that the breaking news siren?
Breaking news. We're concerned about this injury. We're concerned. That's our concern is the news. Wrestling's not a ballet. You have people that go really, really fast. Those tight TV matches, tag team matches. I've seen more people get hurt in tag team matches than any other type of match because there's so many other moving parts and there's so many different cues you want to hit so everybody can get their shine and their heat and their sell and all the different functionalities you need in a wrestling match when you lay it out. Hope she's okay. I think she's a bright star. I think she can actually become a really big single star.
I think she'll do tremendous on the main roster eventually when she does make it up because she's just full of talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's already figured out the framing to the camera and how to
has
find
great
it.
assets.
That's one way to put it.
Assets.
Assets.
Will you stop? Will you stop? There we go. Jeremy, we owe each other a Coke. All right. DC Cinematic Universe, or the DC Extended Cinematic Universe, was shook this week by the release of a new trailer for Black Adam starring The Rock. This has been anticipated and has been in the works for years. Rock is one of the biggest stars in all of Hollywood, but some people critique his movies for being a little bit too action heavy, too badassery. I'm okay. I'm with it. He knows what he is. One person who's embraced a new, more R-rated version of himself is John Cena, playing the role of Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad and the new HBO Max series. This is interesting as the DC universe is being shook up by all the nerddom, all the fandom. They fought in the wrestling ring. Could they fight in the movie screens on our screens and as different characters? It would be something else, wouldn't it? Could we get the Peacemaker versus Black Adam? I'm not rooting for Peacemaker in that fight. I don't think he has much power against someone who within the pages of DC Comics is as powerful as Superman.
Look who made a cameo on the show.
Hey, Rock, what do you think of playing the role of Black Adam?
What do you think about it?
You were not prepared.
It doesn't matter what you think.
It doesn't matter what you think about
He was not prepared to do the voice at all. I so put you on the spot, Jose.
I know, but you know what? Shout out to my wife Brenda that got me this over the weekend for my birthday party. It was hilarious.
Jose took him to prom.
I'm just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna leave it here in the background for everyone to, bask in the moment.
Yeah, that was Jose's date for prom last weekend.
We'll just leave it there.
this is just another sign when people talk about how wrestling is
Who
not
led
mainstream.
on the dance there at prom?
Yeah.
Was it you or Rock?
Yeah, who led?
Well,
You or The Rock?
Who
well,
led who led the dancing?
If you were in
The
the
Rock
Rock's
leads.
arms, you would just lead him, let him lead. So
Let him lead.
That's right.
you let him lead. You let him lead. He's the Rock.
It'd be offensive if you didn't.
Exactly. It would be highly offensive.
So yeah, this all this got started between the two because Peacemaker account tweeted at DC Comics, "I can take him," as a response to the Black Adam trailer that came out yesterday. So, and also there was a Black Adam Easter egg on the first season of Peacemaker, the tremendous HBO Max series with John Cena. There was a Black Adam Easter egg also, which is further.
Was it on the last episode?
Fourth.
Is it in a post credit?
There was a reference made to a couple of I don't know if they're
they referenced a couple of side characters that are likely going to be in this Black Adam movie.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, and those characters are only exclusively associated with Black Adam.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It was weird. I think WWE mentioned
there
Peacemaker
is
a handful of times.
So
right?
much money. There's so much money to be had with these two guys.
So much money. And they are working together on an action film. They are working together on a spy thriller that The Rock is producing and John Cena will be in. I do know that. So will they be on screen together? If they were in a movie together, come on.
Oh, man.
It'd be
If they
awesome.
could do a Black Adam Peacemaker thing, man.
But that's just like a long-term angle, right? Because the last time they faced each other was like back in like 2013 or 2012. I forget when it was. Yeah, it's 2013, right? So 9 years later, and then they have a film together, being featured as superheroes. Oh man, this is crazy. We could just do a whole angle. WWE will do a full video package on it, and it'll be better than the actual movie.
WWE celebrating John Cena month, 20 years since he debuted with the company. He will be appearing on Monday Night Raw coming up on June 27th. And what capacity he'll be appearing, we don't exactly know. But obviously, I don't expect him to wrestle on a Monday Night Raw unannounced, but simply making an appearance. They want to play for the rating and see if that sets up something down the line. Many fans have theorized that one Austin Theory, now known simply as Theory, who's the reigning United States champion, that he would, he's been doing the social media chatter that he's primed to have some type of special match with John Cena down the road within the next year or so. It'd be interesting. If they do a WrestleMania 2 nights in Los Angeles, I would hope you find some way to get John Cena on that card, right?
I would hope so. Especially, if we're going to do a whole nother Summer of Cena thing where this leads to him having a match at SummerSlam, you think you want to start something with Austin Theory, especially if you're going to do something, on that Monday Night Raw. That's the last Raw, I believe, before the there's one more Raw after before that Money in the Bank. However, that could be the starting point of Theory Cena. I think people want to see that. And he's already alluded to it on TikTok. I don't know if you've seen that TikTok video where he's doing a Q&A. People are asking him, who's your favorite superstar at the moment? Theory. Another question that was asked, who from the current WWE roster deserves an attitude adjustment? Theory. So I'm just saying, if you guys keep an eye on the socials, you could follow the breadcrumbs.
Breaking news, which is leading into our fourth story of the day. Matt Cardona expected to be out 6 to 7 months with a torn bicep.
Yes, bad news for Matt Cardona this week. He is the reigning NWA champion. They had the Always Ready pay-per-view, which will be with the NWA coming up later this weekend. It kind of very unfortunate that they were going to, Always Ready, his phrase. They were going to go with that. He was going to be in a prime match. They're going to do a big one with him and Aldis. And now, that match is kind of robbed of the NWA, and the NWA is really going to tie their ship to Cardona, who is, one of the hottest free agents in professional wrestling. He did do some appearances with AEW during the pandemic. He was with WWE for a very, very long time and built up a generation of fans there, and now has really taken his pirate ship to the internet with his own podcast network that is very, very successful. And he's done huge things with GCW, now with the NWA. So a poorly timed injury, but like we say, you see it, injuries going all the way around. We'll talk about CM Punk here in a minute. I mean, how bad is this for the NWA? Because they're just still trying to fight to make that mark and really put themselves in that big top tier picture.
Yeah, and I don't know where this interview came from. I don't know if Fightful interviewed them or no, here we go. Graham Matthews at Bleacher Report was asked if he thought about a WWE return, and he said, "I'd be lying if I said I never wanted to wrestle in Madison Square Garden again, or never wanted to wrestle in a big stadium for a WrestleMania. Of course I would. I'm not saying that, but I'm also not saying that I'm doing everything now thinking, what can I do to get back to WWE, or what can I do to go to AEW? I don't give a shit. Sorry, I don't. If Tony Khan or Vince McMahon or Johnny Ace or Bruce Pritchard called me, of course I'd pick up the phone and have a conversation, but that's not my goal right now." Then they asked if he could think he could return as Matt Cardona and play his current role in WWE, similar to what Cody Rhodes did on his return to WWE. And he says, "There are certain things I'd have to tone down, like the cursing, but other than that, I think it would absolutely work. It's just a different side of me. It's an evolution. I wouldn't be opposed to be coming back as Zack Ryder. I love my Always Ready music. It would basically be me just with the old Zack Ryder name. No more O Radio, none of that stuff, even though Downstate...
I love
Radio.
Even though Downstate did make a harder version of it, I would love to come back as me, Matt Cardona. But I think realistically, the WWE has that IP that they've invested a lot in that name. So I would have no problem doing it, even if it was a one-off at the Royal Rumble or something like that.
Yeah, if he came back to WWE, he'd have to be Zack Ryder. He'd have to. Like, because he was under that name for like 10, 11 years, you know?
Absolutely. I don't think he'll have a problem. And he even said on the interview, I don't think you'll have a problem executing as Zack Ryder, but you can take Zack Ryder and make Zack Ryder into Matt Cardona, that character, and apply it to Zack Ryder. And I think it'll work absolutely great. So if whenever he comes, whenever he heals up, or whenever he decides to come back to the WWE, I think he'll be very well welcomed with open arms.
Also, I'm not opposed to the idea of WWE, and you've even had Nick Khan going on the idea of like short-term contracts, getting big name people and signing them, or name value people.
Kind of like what we're doing in GM mode, Jose.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Getting
We're about
over
to kill him next
nights.
week. We're about to kill him next week.
We
they
signed,
don't know what's happening next week.
We signed Big E to a short-term contract in our WWE 2K GM mode, and all he's done is lost matches. It's like, geez, Big E.
Lost 3 matches in a row.
But I mean, I'm not opposed to him being like, oh yeah, just sign me for a couple months and I'll do a run to a big show and likely put someone over, but do some fun stuff. I mean, him with an Intercontinental Champion, him, with, put the Major Brothers back together. It'd be fun,
Somebody just, Steven Chambers just said it right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not alone in that. I'm not opposed to that. For like, nostalgia is fun. Wrestling fans love it. If you do it for a while and it doesn't distract from the major storylines, it just adds to it. What's the problem?
Exactly.
Stone Cold Steve Austin added to WrestleMania. Didn't take away from it this year. CM Punk had a poorly timed injury just after winning the AEW World Championship. After being with AEW for less than a year, he injured his leg. The severity of the injury is not clear. The last night on AEW, they did clarify on commentary that it looks like the surgery was successful. The reported return time for him is not very long. It is said to be a lower leg injury, which would lead people to believe that he broke his foot or possibly his ankle of some kind. We don't know the severity of it, but it does look positive. Do we have any other updates here?
No, there's no time frame right now at this time. Just that the official diagnosis of the injury is still unclear, and announcers only mentioned that Punk had to get surgery to repair a lower leg injury. So there's no time frame to do that. Yeah, so they really just the fact that they have not really diagnosed it yet. We haven't. Once we know exactly what happened, we'll probably know a better time frame.
Yeah,
but
it all depends on the type of injury. If it's a broken ankle, or the ankle needed surgery, it can take anywhere from 3 to 4 months from recovery from a medical standpoint. If it's broken foot, where there was several fragments in the actual foot, that could take a little longer. So it just all depends on the type of injury that he had and the type of surgery that he had as well. So.
And of course, AEW set up their interim championship series. This played out last night. on Dynamite here, as it will see Jon Moxley, who won a match defeating Kyle O'Reilly as the winner of a Battle Royal earlier in the night. He will move on to face the winner of a New Japan title contention match. That'll go down at Dominion coming up. No, not Dominion, excuse me. That'll be going down in New Japan Pro Wrestling between the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Goto, and the winner of that match will then move on to the Forbidden Door AEW New Japan Super Show coming up in Chicago.
I think you were right. I think you were right about Dominion, because Dominion's coming up this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Dominion. I'm sorry. I just did.
It's either Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, you're right. You were right.
Okay, I'm sorry. Whenever I say Dominion, I always think I'm saying Dontaku. I always mess those two events up. So I don't want to do that.
Yeah, Dominion's usually in June. So yeah,
I don't want all my New Japan friends to come at me and just yell, "No,
how dare you? How dare you, Kevin?"
So that is the scenario. You can have a scenario where a New Japan wrestler is the interim AEW heavyweight champion.
It is Sunday.
Thank you. So that'll be streaming on njpwworld.com. So here's the thing. We're going to get into this in a second, because there's something else that happened at Dynamite this week, and I think it needs to be debated. What is going on with that championship you see right there? That is the AEW All-Atlantic Championship, which was introduced and made official this week on Dynamite. They will have a tournament featuring all non-American wrestlers, and a fatal four-way coming up at the AEW Forbidden Door pay-per-view will crown this champion. This is a championship that is supposed to recognize all of the international fans of All Elite Wrestling and gives them something else to fight for. A new thing to fight for. So the debate here to close out today's episode on Sportskeeda Wrestling is, are there too many titles in AEW? If you consider that they have their own world champion who's on the shelf right now, 2 women's championships, they have all the titles of Ring of Honor, these guest champions that come in from the NWA and New Japan and Impact and all these different things. Are there too many championships in AEW? Jeremy, the floor is yours. Debate.
Well, you got to remember the roster of AEW is larger than WWE, so I don't think there is too many championships here. You also got to remember that Ring of Honor is going to be separated eventually. Until they get a television deal in place, they are going to just, they'll be a part of AEW until they get that television deal in place. There's already been talks of a pay-per-view coming up here very soon next month. So I don't think it's a problem of too many titles because of the large roster size. So I think it is a good title, because you got your TNT championship that's going to include your upper mid carders. So this championship could include maybe some lower mid carders, or just can create new feuds, create new stories. Imagine if Will Ospreay comes out as the first champion of this. That's going to create a lot of buzz. He created a lot of buzz being on Dynamite last night. So I don't think it's a problem at all.
Jose?
I, for one, I'm going to nitpick this title a little bit. Let's take a look at this picture real quick. Come on, guys. How are you going to call this the All-Atlantic title and include Mexico in there and Japan, when both of these countries are clearly surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, and Mexico is also surrounded by the Gulf of Mexico? All right? I understand the U.S., I understand the U.K., and I don't know what that red flag is in there. And
we're getting
Canada.
Geographical.
But you should call this, this is not an all-Atlantic title. I mean, you could call it the all-seas title or the 7 seas title, but it's definitely not the all-Atlantic title. Listen, all right. So for me, I think that having another title is it's a double-edged sword for me, right? So for right now, I think it's good because it gives opportunities to a whole plethora of talent that can take advantage of this. Down the downside, where are you going to put him? We're on TV. You only have a certain amount of TV time that you can allot to these guys. So there's going to be people that are not going to get these opportunities. So for me, it's a double-edged sword. I like it because it's something new that the guys can fight for. But again, I'm just worried that this title is going to get lost in the shuffle. What about you, Kevin?
I'm going to say that it's a pretty looking title, and there's some great talent in that tournament that you've already featured, and all these different things. And it is true, AEW does need to think about international expansion. That's a long term. In the short term, I think this is a bad idea for a bunch of different reasons. You already have women fighting to get time on television, and now you're introducing another championship that's going to take up time on TV. It's another thing that can't be featured when you simply don't have enough bandwidth for fans to get it. And don't tell me putting it on Dark and Dark Elevation is going to be the same thing, because it's not going to be the same thing. And we already have Ring of Honor that needs to be revamped and get on television. There's stories that need to be developed there. That brand needs to be rebooted there. You still need to feature your women and make them feel viable and in contention for the top spots in the company. You have people like Thunder Rosa publicly saying they deserve to have more time on television. And now you have a whole other championship with a whole other division of people taking up that time. But where are the stories with this, and where are the characters and other things that we enjoy about pro wrestling? I enjoy the sport of pro wrestling, but I want more show. And I think this takes away from the show and leans into the sport, which I guess is what AEW does. It's different from WWE and does make it unique, but it reminds me of the same problems I have when I watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. Too many titles, and too many titles that you forget are even there. So two of us say no. One of us says no. Jose's in the middle, and Jeremy is for it. What do you think? Jump into the comments below. Does AEW have too many championships?
Jose's muted.
What? What'd you say?
I said Jose's muted.
Jose's muted.
I unmuted myself. My dog was just barking up a storm. I think somebody knocked on my door. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Don't worry about it. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Does AEW have too many championships? And what do you think of the current championship situation in All Elite Wrestling? Get in the comments below and let us know what you think. We have a lot more content coming at you this week, and always Monday nights, Vince Russo with us after Monday at Raw. Friday nights, Dutch Mantel with us after Rampage and AEW. And SmackDown and all those goodies. We have pay-per-views.
Got a big announcement for tomorrow. Tomorrow we got the good old Mr. Bill Apter for Freestyle Friday. He's going to be taking my place. I'm going to be on assignment tomorrow afternoon. So Bill Apter will be taking my place, joining Jeremy and Kevin. And it's going to be the majority of the episode. All right, guys. So you guys are going to want to tune in tomorrow with the legendary journalist Bill Apter.
I knew someone was going to complain and say they should have those trios championships. They told us they were going to have trios championships.
That's because Tony Khan said that will not come out until Kenny's back. So
I know people are anticipating something and they want something. Fans wanting something in wrestling they don't get. What are you talking about? That's unheard of.
Probably because they're going to have Kenny Omega and the Bucks feud with Undisputed Elite for the initial trios title. Is probably my guess is why they're holding off on that until Kenny's back.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think here. AEW, too many championships, too little championships. What do you think of the new championship? You got to see it there. Give us your take on it. We would love to hear it, especially if you're watching on demand or listening anywhere in the world. Follow me on the Twitter machine at Kev Kellam. You can follow me on Instagram as well. I just dropped a brand new stand-up comedy clip about sharks. You can follow me on the Instagram at Kev Kellam 6. That's at Kev Kellam 6. Jose G, what do you got going on, buddy?
Man, as always, you guys can catch me here Monday through Friday on the top story. As always, follow me on my socials, Jose G Official on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. I got my project that I've been teasing is going to be dropping here at the end of the month. So make sure you guys follow me on social media because I will be dropping some teasers. So go ahead and do that.
Follow me on the Twitter at JB Huskers. I live tweet through most shows, depending. Not normally on Friday. I'm usually gone on Fridays, but we'll see. But you can always follow me there and follow along if I am alive and well there. Make sure you subscribe to the Twitch channel, our new Twitch channel, Sportskeeda Wrestling, all one word. Every Wednesday after AEW Dynamite, myself and Jose getting over on Twitch as we will talk about Dynamite for the first part of the show, and then dig into pro wrestling video games as we've been lately in our first couple of episodes been doing WWE 2K GM mode. So we'll continue. We just got off of the first pay-per-view on our calendar, and so we are going to
we just dropped some serious cash on some legends for next week. So
we picked up some legends.
But so you know what? We're way more profitable than Monday Night Raw, and
we're making money. We don't have the fans.
We're under 1 million fans right behind them, but we are way more profitable than Raw.
And Uncle Dave is giving these star ratings left and right to Raw, but not giving us the star ratings. So it's
what is the WWE version of Dave Meltzer in the 2K game? Do they
no, after a match it gives the star rating. So
it'd be funny if they just had like a name that was like
no, it just says the star rating. No person is giving it out. So we just say Uncle Dave's doing it, and he's screwing over SmackDown right now.
There you go. Thank you guys. Go check it out. It's up now. And remember, when watching wrestling, do the most important thing, which is what?
You guys need to take a big, deep breath. Let it out and just remind yourself to enjoy wrestling.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Max.
Pre.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!